Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Senator Steve Chang from Southern Brooklyn. First thing I want to do is thank Mr. Blakeman for coming down here, as well as the candidate. As well as the only correct candidate for Attorney General for New York State, Saritha Komatireddy. As we all know, this race coming up is for the governor of New York State. In the last 7 years, New York State has been under siege by the Democrats who's given you one-party rule. Who raised your taxes? The Democrats. Who raised your property taxes? The Democrats. Who raised your gas bills, your electric bills, your cost of living? Who incorporated congestion pricing? The Democrats. Who's been letting all the criminals out of jail for the last 7 years? The Democrats. And like no surprise, who's been bringing these homeless shelters, importing these single men homeless shelters to our great neighborhood right here in Bath Beach? The Democrats. If that's not enough to convince you who to vote for, I don't know what will. So, now, a couple of days ago, Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis and I held a press conference in Staten Island calling on federal investigation of the corruption that exists with these homeless shelters. Folks, the homeless shelters is not about helping the homeless. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to tell me there's no corruption, I say you're out of your mind. I want you to remember this. For every $1 that these greedy developers are bribing somebody with, somebody's got to be taking it, right? Yes. I tell you right now, I'm not the guy taking it. Saritha is not. Brucey is not the guy taking it. But you know what? I know somebody who's actually going to investigate these people. That's Saritha, that's Bruce. And without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Bruce Blakeman.
Thank you. Chang the man. Thank you, Senator. We appreciate all that you do. And I'm here with some great officials who you're going to hear from in a moment. He's absolutely right. Senator Chang is right on point. The fact of the matter is that I travel around this state. People are miserable under Governor Kathy Hochul. She has brought misery with the higher taxes. We are the highest tax state in America. We are the most regulated state in America. Our utility bills are 50% higher than the national average, and she's done nothing about it for the last 4 years. We need a change. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is the fact that she is the most pro-criminal governor in the United States of America. Think about it. Every policy, every law, every rule, every regulation is being used to aid criminals so they can commit more acts of crime in our neighborhoods and make us less secure. It's crazy. So the fact of the matter is that we got to band together and make sure that we effectuate change. And one of those changes we're going to effectuate is we're going to have more transparency in the siting of places like homeless shelters, especially for single men. Yes. We have to have more community involvement. We have to have more local control. We should be propping up our neighborhoods, making them more safe, making them more affordable, making them more beautiful, creating atmospheres that we want to raise our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to come. But Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani are not doing that. They want to raise property taxes. They want to increase the estate tax for people who are middle-class homeowners and small businesses, and virtually take away your hard-earned investment and not let you leave it to your kids, but take it and give it to a government that's insatiable in spending. We don't have a revenue problem in this state and this city. We have a spending problem, like the $8 billion that Kathy Hochul has spent on illegal migrants who've been here for 15 minutes. They're not New Yorkers. It's our taxpayer money. We could have used that money to cut taxes, to invest in our infrastructure, to create better jobs, to have better hospitals, to have better schools. But we're giving it to people who are drawn to New York like a magnet to steel because we're giving them free housing, free food, free transportation, a free cell phone. Things that we as taxpayers don't get for free. They just arrive here and get all this stuff for free, and we're paying for it. That ends on January 1, 2027.
Free Sergeant Duran.
Oh,
Yeah.
Free Sergeant Duran.
at 12:01, he will be pardoned by me as governor. So let me say this.
Shouldn't have never been arrested.
We need to help with the homeless problem that we have here in New York. And the way to do that is to take a multifaceted approach. Not just stick them somewhere and put a homeless shelter in the middle of a beautiful community. Some of them have substance issues. Let's get them the treatment that they need. Some of them need job training. Let's get them the training so they can get jobs and become a productive member of our society.
That's right.
And some of them need emotional help. They need medical treatment because they have emotional issues. Let's get them that help. We're not anti-homeless. We don't want to hurt the homeless. But clearly what we're doing here in New York is wrong. We're wasting money. And as Chang the man said, people are making billions of dollars off of these programs, and they're not solving the problem. They're just creating more problems in communities like this, beautiful communities where people want to say and what happens. So I say to all of you that I stand behind you 100%. We've got some great elected officials here that we're going to hear from. The next person I would like to introduce is the Assemblyman that is a fighter here in this county. He's a wonderful guy, Assemblyman Lester Chang. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next governor of New York State.
Yeah!
Next governor. As some of you know, myself and Stephen Chang, we've been barred just to protest just right across the street. We've been sued by the developers. They're afraid of us.
Yes,
Where
they
is
are.
Kathy Hochul? Where's Kathy Hochul about this? She'll never come over here.
MIA.
This governor, next governor, stands right beside, looking at our neighborhood, protecting us, looking for our future. You're right, the homeless shelter, we had to have heart. And I gave an idea where the homeless shelter should be. And the solution's in front of us. Rikers Island. I've been there 3 times. 15,000 people, 6,000 being occupied. There's 9,000 available areas that can be occupied and they can be renovated. $17 billion for 4 neighborhood jails that nobody wants. $17 billion. We can take that $1 billion to fix up Rikers Island, and the rest of the money can be for affordable housing and solve the city budget deficit. $17 billion is going to be wasted. And I know this governor will veto all that. And I know this governor knows how to balance the budget. He did so. He has the record at Nassau County. He balanced the budget.
Amen.
The state is falling with shortage. The city is $5 billion deficit. And I know with this governor here, this future governor, he will solve that problem. And one thing for sure, he's run this by his heart. He doesn't have to be running the governor. He knows the greater good by protecting us, the state of New York. He could be comfortable running at Nassau County Executive because overwhelmingly, even though it's a Democrat stronghold, he's able to win the hearts and minds of Nassau County to be voted to be county executive. But he answered to a higher calling. He knows New York State is failing. He knows we have a new mayor that's going to fail us. That's why he stepped up the plate with overwhelmingly people, yes, saying he should not or he should run, but he took the bold step to run to protect our interests, our New York State interest. And I hope that once he becomes governor, myself and Steve Chang will be right behind him. Every step of the way to pave the greatest thing that New York State will ever have is a new Republican governor. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You know, as I said before, we don't have a revenue problem in this state and the city. We have a spending problem. Think about this. The budget of New York City is more than the state of Florida, okay? There's more than twice as many people in the state of Florida, and our city budget is higher than Florida. Think about our state budget. It's twice as much as the state of Florida, and there's more people there. Where is the money going? It's not going back to the people. They're spending our money foolishly. There is fraud, waste, and abuse, and we need that investigated, and the person who can do that is our next Attorney General, Saritha Komatireddy.
It's good to be back in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn, and I spent 12 years as a federal prosecutor in Brooklyn. When I was a prosecutor, I went after terrorism, cybercrime, international drug trafficking, and most importantly today, fraud and corruption. We have a broken homeless shelter system here in New York. 20 people died on the streets this winter. In the last couple of years, 4 people have been set on fire. That should never happen in New York.
Yep.
It is heartbreaking, and everyone here knows it's unacceptable. But what's more unacceptable is that we spend more on homeless shelter services in this state every year, and the number of homeless people on the streets keeps going up. Now, the Attorney General is in a unique position to actually solve this problem. Here's why. Nearly every homeless shelter in New York is run by a nonprofit, and every nonprofit in New York must register with the Attorney General. It is actually the Attorney General's job to regulate the nonprofits in this state. Letitia James does not do that job, and that's why homelessness in New York State under her watch is up 38%. When I'm Attorney General, I will make sure that homeless shelters are safe and effective, and that will make your community better. Because if we take the shelters we have now already and make sure that they actually work, you won't need to build new ones. The reason people are out here protesting is because homeless shelters have become synonymous with drugs and crime. And I can tell you as a federal prosecutor, I received phone calls from homeless shelters about fentanyl dealers dealing drugs and causing overdoses in the shelters. That happens now, and no one is cleaning it up. When I'm an Attorney General, on day 1, I will audit and investigate every homeless shelter nonprofit in the state. And I will prosecute the crime and drugs that are affecting our shelter system so that we can actually help the homeless, actually help our communities, and make New York safer and stronger. Thank you.
Do you have any questions from the media?
Yeah, from the New York Post. So, do you think our mayor is out of touch with outer borough residents? How do you expect to meet the needs of these communities?
Well, I think that's an understatement. I think Zoran Mandami does not understand the needs of people in the outer boroughs because basically he wants to increase property taxes by 9.5%. These are people that are struggling right now. And unlike other areas of the state, New York City has an income tax. So you're double taxed. You have to pay an income tax and then an increase in property taxes. And then they want to tax you when you die, the death tax, and take away everything you've worked hard for your whole life and take it away from your kids and your grandchildren. It's absolutely wrong. And they always impose their will. Those elitists in Manhattan impose their will on the outer boroughs. And they don't understand. I grew up right on the border of Queens. I grew up in Nassau County and Valley Stream, right on the border. Many of my friends lived in Queens. I played basketball my whole life in Queens and Nassau County, and even here in Brooklyn. And you know what? We share a lot of the same kinds of neighborhoods. These are more suburban neighborhoods than urban neighborhoods. And people like the character. If they want a more urban environment, they can live in Manhattan. But they like a more suburban environment. They want local control. They want transparency. And they're not getting it from Zohran Mandami or Kathy Hochul. We've got to start letting the people in the outer boroughs' voices be heard. And when I'm governor, their voices will be heard.
Bruce, how about the shady contracts of the not-for-profits?
We're going to do media first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The governor of this great state or city. So are you going to check for the misuse of budget return to the legislature?
Yeah, well, it'll be a partnership with Saritha that we are going to investigate all the fraud, the waste, and the abuse. There's no reason why, when you think of it, there's no reason why our state budget should be twice that of the state of Florida. It's just insane. And why give people more money when they don't know how to spend the money wisely to begin with? So I've had 4 budget surpluses. I haven't raised taxes 1 penny in 4 years. As a matter of fact, I cut $150 million in taxes.
Definitely way to do it.
And we've gotten 7 bond upgrades, and U.S. News and World Report says we're the safest county in America. Compare that with Kathy Hochul's 4-year record. Our utility rates are 50% higher than the national average. Why? Because her campaign contributors are completely wedded to one form of energy, which I call the green energy scam. Even though we're sitting on one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world, here in New York, here in Brooklyn, you're going to be getting your gas not from New York, which would make the state more prosperous and make you more prosperous, but we're getting it from Pennsylvania, right on the other side of the border. It's dumb, it's insane, and it's got to end.
Which sends headlines news. As it pertains to this homeless shelter, Bensonhurst has been extremely resilient. They've been out here for months. What's your stance on the homeless shelter coming here? Do you also agree that we should send them to Rikers Island instead?
Yes, I completely agree. Number one, as was pointing out by our great senator and assemblyman, we have places already where we could house them. But we also have to get into a mode where we are solving the homeless problem. We don't solve the homeless problem, we just create more homelessness. There are components, as I said before. There are people that are out of work. They need job training. I was in Washington Square Park the other day. This woman who had been homeless had told me, she begged them at the homeless shelter, she begged the city to please help her with job training. She just got off of drugs. She's in a homeless shelter. She wants to transition out. She wants to become a productive member of society. And it fell on deaf ears. There were no programs for job training. That's how you fix a problem. There's not enough treatment centers for people who have substance abuse. They just throw them in a homeless shelter. As Lester was talking about, where there's more and more criminal activity and drug activity, it doesn't make any sense. Why put that in this community, this beautiful community? So we don't have enough treatment of people who have emotional issues. Let's start solving problems. I'm a problem solver. I'm not the kind of person that relishes the fact that we can kick the can down the road and let it be somebody else's problem. We have to solve problems, and they're not solving the problem, they're just creating more problems by putting a homeless shelter here in this community. They don't want it. There should be transparency and more local control. So that's what I stand for.
How would you work with Mayor Mamdani to change this or make it better?
Well, I would say to Mayor Mamdani the following. We are going to redirect the funds away from creating these standalone homeless shelters in the middle of beautiful communities. We're going to put them in appropriate places, but we're going to have a program for job training, a program to help those who have emotional illnesses, and a program to help those who have substance abuse and solve the problem once and for all.
If you tap New York's methane reserves, what are you going to do to protect our water supply from the harms of fracking and all that?
Yeah, so first of all, it's a complete fiction that fracking on the southern tier of New York would hurt the water supply. The technology and the science now makes it almost foolproof to do that, as they're doing in Pennsylvania. There haven't been any incidents of poisoning the water in Pennsylvania, so it's a complete fiction. It's an excuse not to do it. So you have the L where you live. Where I live, I have the jets over JFK. So the bottom line is this. Can you imagine if Saudi Arabia or Texas said, hey, we've got these big reserves and it can make our people prosperous and it'll drive down energy costs, but we're not going to drill. It's insane. We're already getting, if the environmentalists are concerned, how come we're buying our gas from Pennsylvania, the same reserve that's part of New York State? And downstate subsidize a lot of the people in upstate New York. We wouldn't have to do that anymore. Maybe they'd be subsidizing us because they'd have so much money. They could send it down here. So we need common sense approaches. We need to solve problems. We don't have problem solvers in office now. Kathy Hochul, Zohar Mandel, they're problem creators. Think about these city-owned grocery stores. 4 years to open up 5 grocery stores? You call that progress? And over $30 million? I mean, I talk to grocery store owners, whether it's Wegmans upstate, King Cullen, ShopRite, Red Apple, you name it. They could open in 3 months for 1/10 the cost. And what are they going to put on the shelves? Stuff that they want to sell you, not stuff that people want to buy. We've seen this picture before in the Soviet Union. That's why the Soviet Union collapsed. The Soviet Union collapsed because they couldn't feed their people, because there was nothing in the grocery stores. And Zohar Mandel is a collectivist. He's against individualism. He's against freedom. And that's why he wants to institute these city stores. It makes no sense.